Welcome back to Upstate New York. Still as cold as ever, but we've got two red-hot teams ready for you. Ohio State takes on Syracuse University in a Overwatch matchup that I think we've been waiting for quite a while since last semester. Both teams 8-1. We'll get more into it in just a moment. I'm Carson Cash, joined by Ryan Blankenhorn.
Yeah, Carson, it's going to be good, and I mean, I've been waiting for this matchup since last semester. I wanted to see, where these two teams were going to end up, and this is going to be the night for both of these teams to really prove who's searching for it. I was talking to some of the guys earlier, and they were like, we want to take this number one seed back, and we know we deserve it, and we're going to have to see that tonight.
Yeah, and the PEC Overwatch has been a dogfight. If you missed it last week, Utah absolutely demolished Boise State after going down 1-0. They had the advantage the rest of the way, and that entire conference is now kind of messed up, as now only two teams remain with one win. It's Ohio State and Syracuse, who coincidentally are playing tonight, but either one of these teams gets into that one seed and has a 2-game advantage over every other team in the league, which would be a very big help into April, because I don't think either of these two teams project losing another game if they don't win it tonight the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams are... there's a lot riding on this, Carson, and I mean, we have some replays as well from last semester, from some of these games, and you can really see where some of the prowess of these players came from. I mean, you have some incredibly good players. This roster has been going from 1 to 100 all semester. They've been in and out of that top 20 in the nation in collegiate Overwatch, and this is really where they get to show that. That's what this PEC is all about. I mean, you see the flexibility in this team from playing the Ramatra Brawl to the Zarya Rush to the Winston Dive to the Sigma Poke. They can play every composition under the sun that is Overwatch, and this is what these players are going to look to do today and really prove that they can do that, including their flexibility and adaptability to new characters like Vendetta.
Yeah, their ability to adapt to the meta will really come into play today. Obviously, you mentioned Vendetta, a new character. The entire meta has shifted as Season 20 has come along.
I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
The old St. Cliff on Hanzo is quite the magical one plays. I can't get over that. Every time I see it, I lose my entire train of thought. Anyway, the adaptability, excuse me. I'm having a rough night. I keep biting my tongue. But the Syracuse squad can't do that all night. They have to find a way to play fast, play heavy against an Ohio State team who is likely going to be playing the same comp as them. There is a very... new way to approach the game right now, where there is so many bans happening that every single matchup you are going to be playing a almost kind of only three similarity roster in terms of it. You're going to pick Lucio and Kiriko to be the only true standards as the ones that go around, but depending on how teams play, obviously this Ohio State team is missing now their King Donut kind of strategy, or an Orisa player who now Orisa's kind of at that bottom of that meta. Can they adapt, or will they just play Orisa and try and fight through it? We don't know, but it's going to come down to what this new meta really is, which I'll let you explain.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Carson, the meta there's a lot of similarities in where this meta was. If I had to guess, probably about a year and a half ago, where it's back to this sort of rush style with the Sojourn DPS line. I mean, like you said, this Lucio Kiriko, this is a staple in Rush. It is almost just a given. I mean, you got the Lucio in. Now that Juno's had her time in the sun with that speed ring, they said, all right, we're done with Juno. Let's bring our favorite frog back into the game. And Lucio is back on top of the meta with that speed. Kiriko with the cleanse, her immense damage output as well as her healing. Those two are going to stick in the meta for a very long time. And then on the DPS side of things, Sojourn. Sojourn has been a staple on DPS since she came out back in October of 2023, 2024. She has been in the game ever since. I mean, you have that strong hit scan player, Mac, coming into this semester, or this past semester with the Syracuse roster, playing strong, always doing well with those overclocks. That other DPS spot we'll get to in a second, that's really what changes these compositions. And then your tank lineup. This is where things get really sort of spicy with how these teams want to play. You have some players opting in for Zarya Rush, others like King Donut who really love to play Hazard. They played Hazard against Nebraska last week and really had a good time. Hazard not in a great spot though, and that's sort of one of those weaknesses when you look into where these tanks are. You have very strong tanks like Zarya who are really rush, really brawl heavy, and the dive tanks are in a little bit of a weirder spot to really play. But at the end of the day, it does come down to that solo DPS that we haven't mentioned. It's been so many different characters for so many different months. Tracer and Echo and the Saint that's behind us. I mean, there are so many different flex DPS options to play, and of course where is that flex DPS going to be? It is going to be the brand new Vendetta, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about Vendetta is we can actually just get into it right now. It's going to be about kind of the roster you can build around them. And can your roster maintain a general line in this kind of frantic aggressiveness? We'll look at the Syracuse roster and talk about how each of their roles will play into this one. But as we know, this Syracuse squad has played on the fly a lot. They love that dive meta, and this is a weird, different one. It's a bit of a brawl now. It's kind of a brawl dive meta, but the Syracuse squad should take very hand into that. They can just kind of grab it where they left off, where they left that dive meta back before, and they just, instead of having to move through the air a lot, moving kind of in the shadows on that right and left side, they can just push up middle now. It's a brawl dive comp is the best way I can describe it. You're always going to want players in the back line, and Vendetta will just get there. You don't need to pretend that you're flanking anymore. Vendetta will just, I'm going to go leap into the back line now and completely ruin your push. It's a very interesting character, but as we look through this roster, B-Dog on one of the supports today, not the main support. He'll be on the flex, as Saint on the main support as usual. Will be likely on that Lucio. B-Dog on that Kiriko today. Lunar, you'll be seeing a lot of tanks with Lunar, but they told me not to tell you who you're going to see, but you are going to see more than one, more than two. Mac on this heavier DPS, this range DPS today, likely Sojourn. You'll see a lot of that, and then we'll have some fun gameplay from Azor, who will be playing likely either Genji when Vendetta is inevitably banned, and Vendetta when Vendetta ban run out.
Yeah, I mean, gotta keep that in mind, right? You get to ban the character once per team for the entirety of the game. So Syracuse and Ohio State both get one ban on Vendetta. Syracuse feels pretty confident. Azor has been playing Vendetta very much throughout their scrims, and basically since the character came out before the winter break. And at the end of the day, when you give a player like Azor so much time to really learn and perfect a flex DPS like that, it's going to be scary when they get the hang of it. And Azor feels very confident on this character. Frankly, I don't see Syracuse ever banning the Vendetta, so it comes down to when Ohio State, they have two options. One, mirror it and hope that their DPS is better than Azor on Vendetta, or two, they get one map to ban that. And I am curious to see what's going to happen there, because Syracuse is a very adaptable team, but if you put so much time into playing one specific composition, and that composition relies on a character like Vendetta with that crazy backline pressure, her ability to get in and get out, her deflect, because yes, she has a deflect, anything that you think should be in a character or shouldn't be in a character, Vendetta has. She can literally do it all: ranged, melee, defense, get in, get out, dive, brawl, tank. I mean, the only thing she doesn't do is heal her team, but maybe one day there will be a perk that allows her to do that, but I'm not even going to pretend that will be a good thing. But it comes down to, can you still play that? Can you still play to the level that you need to be and sort of go back to your roots of a team if Vendetta does get banned, as Ohio State may do that and feel more comfortable, right? Playing a Hazard or an Orisa, really getting back to their roots as well. Yeah,
Vendetta is going to be a very interesting slot in here. And obviously, last week we didn't see Syracuse play because Michigan State does not have an Overwatch team, but they themselves believe that they got an extra bye. That bye coming in week 1 again has really helped them learn Vendetta. Basically, they've gotten free time to not prepare at all for a game, which they have been preparing for this game, but by playing more Vendetta and by having more free time. And against Minnesota last week, Ohio State did 3-0, but they struggled on that Vendetta play. In Minnesota, obviously, Syracuse and Ohio State had a pretty easy time with them last semester, and it wasn't as easy as you would hope for Ohio State looking into essentially a new meta. You're struggling a little bit against a team that wasn't playing it. So it's interesting, to say the least. We'll see how Vendetta kind of slots in for them, and it will surely be a mirror at some point, but it's going to be how long can they look into that mirror. And I've got a lot of reasons to think that Azor will be the only one looking back by the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, and already Ohio State, they're going to look to just start off that Vendetta mirror. Their ban was Genji, so just to sort of throw it out there and say, all right, let's just test it. Let's test the waters. Let's see what this Vendetta matchup is going to be, because at the end of the day, Carson, it's been a very long time since Overwatch has had sort of the star player meta, and that's what we're looking at right now. There is some flexibility in the tank line. Your support line is going to be pretty consistent. You still have the Sojourn, but at the end of the day, because of how powerful Vendetta is as a character in this game, it really does come down to who is the star player. Vendetta has the ability to 1v5. That is how powerful this character is. Her ultimate is basically a straight line coming down from the heavens to slap you in the face. Her normal charge damage is 120. For reference, that's almost half of just any squishy target in the game.
Yeah.
She has a one-shot combo. There are a lot of things this character can do, and when you put her in the hands of someone like Azer, it is going to be scary to see. So I like this from Syracuse. And Ohio State sort of just testing out the waters with this Vendetta matchup. Syracuse going ahead and just banning the Wu Yang. Pretty safe option. You don't want to deal with all of the movement and all of the knockback that comes in from the Wu Yang, giving your Vendetta just that ability to really play into her dive.
Yeah, Azer ranking 11th in kills per game so far this semester, or last semester, excuse me, without they kind of pick up their stats have been updated at pec.edge.leagueos.gg. That is pec.edge.leagueos.gg, and exactly how it spells rolls off the tongue. But it's a very interesting section to see how far Azer is up on those leaderboards as a team that was not playing a very DPS-centric comp. There was not a lot of emphasis on the DPS. Most of it came in how much space can we get with the tank and how much can we clean up by focusing mostly damage and attention onto that tank. It's what most dive meta is. You have a tank that's powerful enough to really make damage in the back line, enough for the other team to turn around, where the rest of the team can play together and pick it up. And we see guys like Saint, immediately right there, who is ranking in the top 20 in damage and kills as well for a reason. And yeah, bans right there you see in the bottom left, Ohio State banning Genji, Wu Yang for the orange. Not a surprising ban from Syracuse.
No, like I said, this gives your Vendetta the ability to really get into that back line and get out for free without any worry. And at the end of the day, that's what we're going to see. I do want to mention, there hasn't been any changes to the Ohio State roster. Everyone on that team is the same, just as Syracuse. We've mentioned how Azer will be that Vendetta player. If we see a Vendetta from Ohio State, it will be Mafia. Yum being the hit scan player, Mafia being that sort of flex DPS player for the side of Ohio State. So that will be what we see from them as we go ahead and we get into the matchup here, Carson. And this is what we sort of expected. Lunar on this Zarya, right? Azer on that Vendetta, almost exactly how I predicted it. King Donut opting in for the Hazard instead.
Immediately you go right into it. Syracuse going to push in on that left side together with Ohio State. Control of the top kind of releases control of that middle point down low. 10 seconds remaining until control point unlocks, and immediately it is an excellent start off rip from this Syracuse squad, from this Ohio State squad, who is listed as a different color on the top than they are on the kill feed, so be wary of that. Thanks, Overwatch, I think. I don't quite know, but it's a very good start for them. They take control of the first point, and it is a very, very good push.
Yeah, that's where that strength of that Hazard's going to come in, is they're going to have a really strong dive. Just get in, hit hard, but Syracuse has really good sustain that they get to hold with this Zarya, and with this bubble charge that they're going to get off of Azer, that's something to really be aware of if you're Ohio State.
They had a good win to build on, last week to Minnesota, and it's going very well. Yum and Mafia collect 2. One more for King Donut. No eliminations yet for the Oranges. There goes the first. Mafia goes down. But right now it's been 2 team kills for Ohio State, who is absolutely rolling to start this one, and Syracuse is going to have to find a way to respond. Ohio State has done a very good job finding a way past that Vendetta with kind of, their own Vendetta on Mafia.
Yeah, they're playing very much for this sort of sit and hit sort of deal, and that is one of the sort of weirdest things with the Hazard is they can put in so much pressure so fast, and Syracuse has to survive it. Once again, they put in so much damage into this Syracuse squad, not giving them any time to sustain through, and then get those kills. Once again, taking a fight, putting them at 60% in this control point. Also looking at ultimates, they got some online. It's going to be hard for Syracuse to really find their tempo back into this next fight.
Yeah, 14-1 on eliminations right now for the Buckeyes. They have taken complete control. Not much to say there. As immediate there. Wow, great shot by Mac. Mafia goes down now. Without the Vendetta, what can they do? Good Hazard push in forward from Ohio State. They force them back out the other way, and basically playing offense and defense a switch way again. Kiriko rush for the Orange comes out. It's the first ult used by either team. As they go back forward, Mac using theirs, charging 4 extra. And just not going to get too much value on it, except on King Donut. If they can focus, we'll get rid of it. They won't. Yum, Wow, and Mafia each collect a healer and 2 DPS. Azer, Mac, and Saint are the ones that go down, and the Orange are going to lose this point, I believe, without much contention.
Yeah, and that's sort of the thing with this is they're not going to be able to touch the point for the contest, and that was just... Okay, there was a lot of things to unpack there, Carson. One of them I do want to mention was the ult control that Ohio State had, right? I mean, throughout that entire fight, they were very, very conservative with the ultimate that they chose to use, only using that Hazard ultimate. Syracuse, they had a good play style, right? They were like, all right, let's force Ohio State into our kill box. Let's bring them forward. And then they rotated out. And I liked that from them. However, they stayed too long. Once again, the strength that this Ohio State squad has with the Hazard specifically. Hazard in a little bit of a weaker spot, but what he's not weak in is the immense power they have in a dive. They get in, they hit hard, they kill, they get out. And that's what we saw multiple times. There were, what, 4 or 5 fights that happened in 100%, right? Keep in mind, 10 seconds for a respawn. They're averaging a fight every 10 to 15 seconds. Very, very well played from them. Syracuse needs to sustain through that, but they couldn't. The bubbles were being shredded through, and they targeted Lunar on that Zarya. Now switching over to the Winston Azer on the Tracer. A little bit of an interesting pick. We'll talk about that in a second, Carson.
Very rough start for the Orange. Azer goes down after a lot of damage is just output by both Vendetta and Hazard, as we've been mentioning. Just the potential to do damage is the main reason Vendetta is so good, and that's the big thing, is you can get rid of a Tracer in a single moment without any reaction time for the Tracer if things go your way well, and it did right there for Ohio State. But this Syracuse team excels in the dive, and we're seeing it here. Low health as Mafia goes down. Keep in mind the kill feeds are switched color-wise, so blue is actually the orange in the kill feed. Just pay more attention to the names. King Donut gets rid of Saint, but the orange get rid of Yum. One more, and this Ohio State squad has to back off. Orange have their first capped point in the second round of the first game.
Yeah, Mafia switching over to that Tracer as well. It's a pretty messy fight right now as kills are going on either side, but King Donut able to get them fast and a fast retake for the side of Ohio State. The thing with this Tracer, right, Mafia switching over as well, these tanks, they shred a little bit harder against the Tracer, but she is in a weaker spot. You have to be very cautious of playing this Tracer, as how fast she can die to players like Yum and Mac with that Sojourn, as well as the Lucio able to mark them if they try to go in the backline. So Tracer, very specialty, but we've seen Azer excel on this character in the past.
Yeah, very slow start for the Orange here, and a good switch into Ohio State by basically just trying to mirror it minus that Hazard. Here comes the Kitsune rush for this Ohio State side. It's going to give a lot of value to them. Mafia and Yum both get Saint and Mac. Orange are without a primary healer in the front line to let them move. Azer goes down in the process trying to defend B-Dog, and B-Dog will get out of it almost, potentially. Yes, we'll get back. Oh, didn't hit the healing line. Goes back in the spawn and goes down. Yum, long shot from half court and immediately gets them 42% for Ohio State as this push ends, and things are looking bleak for the Orange, who have really struggled to find any way to defend themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to give them 50% because of that stagger. Really good from Ohio State. Syracuse now looking to secure this Mega over into Drum Room. I like this from them, but they can't stay in here long. Once again, King Donut takes advantage. They see that they stay in there for a long period of time. B-Dog forced to use this rush. They're able to get on point, but Ohio State, they're still up a man right now.
Yeah, well thought out, though, by the Orange. That does give kind of the advantage to them. They have the point. They have 4 at least. If they can get a pick off here, like they're hoping with the Tracer, they won't be able to get it with the Pulse Bomb, but they're just trying to find a way to get even, and it's not going to be like that. They aren't giving up and giving out enough damage, essentially, as King Donut gets rid of the last Orange on point. It's Azer. State's up to 37 for the Orange, but the Buckeyes are back, 65. Ohio State has been dominant so far, and it's been all Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, 4 ultimates online for Ohio State as well. They're going to start off with the overclock just to keep Syracuse in their own spawn door, forcing Saint to use the beat just to live into a counter from Rhett. And this is just Ohio State with some great ult rotation. The Primal Rage, Syracuse is searching for anything they can.
Mac gets 2. Lau and King Donut go down. Yum as well to Lunar on that ult, and that is a great start for the Orange. 3 down immediately, pushes over for Ohio State. And that counter ult really helps them out, and it basically just bought Syracuse the ability to use other ults. The problem, if you go to look at the top of your screen, you'll notice very closely that it's 2-0 right now for that Ohio State side. They've been playing so much better right now, as they're going to use Kitsune Rush to get back on point. But Azer gets rid of Mafia. That is a huge start. No kind of poke damage into that other end. They're pushing down to that other side. Hazard kind of gets themselves trapped up top and will go down. Poor move. They go back up. Lunar back on his site, getting rid of healers. Overtime. The Orange have sight officially and keep it away from going wrong.
I don't know if I fully like that from Syracuse, Carson. Now it's one fight territory for Ohio State. They got some good ults to bring themselves back in, but they're already putting pressure back on this side again. Mafia has that pulse bomb. King Donut been really good with this Hazard ultimate as well. If anyone gets caught for Syracuse, it's over.
Yeah, it's one fight territory, but that doesn't mean Syracuse can't get that ult in time. Mafia gets rid of Lunar. It'll be up basically to Azer to be. He's got to make a star play here essentially and get rid of the Hazard with a pulse bomb. Mac up top, spreading damage out as Azer goes down. Overtime set to end if nobody can touch. Mac touches for just a moment, goes down. Saint gets one. Back on the other end, they touch for a little longer, but Syracuse is going to go down here if Lunar can't touch once more, and they will not be able to. Ohio State sweeps 2-0 on the first game, and it is a very good start for this Buckeye squad who is looking for a real answer to last semester because people have been doubting them. It's patch day, everybody said, including us, kind of. But that is a very good start for a Buckeyes team who looked phenomenal that start.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Carson. Zarya is arguably, or not even arguably, Zarya is a stronger tank than Hazard is right now. I mean, that is just consensus against the Overwatch community right now. And Rush is very powerful. Like I mentioned earlier, Dive is in a very weird spot where Vendetta, yes, is a dive DPS, right? That's not, yes, right. She can go in, she dives, she's great in Brawl. That's not an argument. The argument, though, is can Dive be viable? I mean, there's sort of this joke going around that collegiate Overwatch is the embodiment of North American Overwatch at the pro level because collegiate plays Brawl, and that's what we're good at. And though there is some truth to that, this is where things really start to show the cracks, right? A team like Ohio State that has a player like King Donut who really knows how to play this Hazard and really knows how to play into this Dive. This was when Dive was not as well accepted, right? Where you have a player like King Donut playing the Hazard, and the rest of this Ohio State squad still sticking to this Lucio Kiri type of dive, rush type of composition. Very much expected from Ohio State, but now you've added a beyond busted character like Vendetta, who is incredibly good at dive, into this composition as well, adding more fuel to the fire of this already existing Hazard dive that Ohio State has really excelled in. Syracuse, they were struggling a few times into the Hazard mirror, and we saw that once again they didn't really want to mirror this, right? They went to the Winston instead of the Hazard, and the Winston, though it has some good chip damage in this Ohio State squad, once again, a lot of what Syracuse has been playing for sustainability. Ohio State, they're looking to play this dive. They're looking to just keep their cycles going on and off, just bang, 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 not giving Syracuse any time to reset, and that's why Ohio State did so well for 2 rounds in a row.
Yeah, I made a mistake earlier, and I said that Azer was 11th in the conference in kills per game. It is actually Mac who's 11th, and Azer is 6th. But what we failed to neglect when we were talking about earlier about Mafia and the star player and what this kind of meta is, it doesn't mean it's just the DPS. King Donut is ranked second in the conference in kills per game and KD ratio. Absolutely dominant Hazard player. Was typically viewed as a kind of a one-hero player at the PEC championships last year. It's kind of what lost them their matches when they got there. Yeah. But boy, does that squad. I mean, King Donut is a passionate person. Anybody can attest to that if you've met him. Very good player and
absolutely
learned Hazard on the fly as it came out, and it was just phenomenal with it. And you're seeing it right here. Hazard doing a great deal of damage to this orange squad, completely unable to have any response to it. There was no room for a reply in this argument, and Ohio State dominated that one purely on King Donut's success in the backline. They need to find a way to get rid of that, whether it is Vendetta again, whether it's a Genji now that it's Genji's back. This Syracuse squad was very confident going into this one. I know they were. We talked to them briefly. They felt like they had this in the bag, and they felt like that this could be a 3-0. Now, you go down 1-0. How do you answer back right now? If you're Syracuse, what do you do at this point?
I'm telling you right now, Carson, I want to see a lot more tempo control. I mean, this Syracuse squad that we just saw against Ohio State on Busan, frankly, was not the Syracuse squad we saw last semester. I mean, Syracuse last semester, what made them so strong, so powerful, I mean, just thinking about some of the replays we were watching earlier, it was that they never let the other team breathe. They kept it going. They kept the pressure. They kept the tempo control. And I feel like I didn't see that once in Busan. not from Syracuse. Ohio State, however, they just kept going with that pressure. They kept putting in so much aggression on the Syracuse squad. They couldn't breathe, they couldn't reset, they couldn't sustain, which was kind of the whole goal of their composition, was to sustain, and we weren't seeing that from them. So if I'm Syracuse, I need to take tempo control back. I need to go first. I need to take advantage of Ohio State's mistakes, because frankly, they're making mistakes. That's what happens when you play this fast game. But if you don't capitalize on the mistakes, they're just going to walk on you.
Yeah, and Vendetta is a great character for tempo control. Yeah. Vendetta has a block that, you saw that bar on the side of the screen when we were watching Azer. Yeah. Vendetta stops 75% of damage to herself and makes herself immune to all melee attacks. It's an absurd ability, A, but you need to use it, B.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic ability for buying time, which is a big portion of tempo control. And Syracuse, the first time I think this entire year since the Ohio State game, have not been able to play their pace because simply Ohio State plays faster than them.
Yeah.
You try this punch in the mouth strategy against a team that's hitting you first, there's no way it's going to work. They have to find a way to play tempo control, because you're never going to be this Ohio State team that plays the fastest in the PEC. It's if you're watching other games around the PEC, it's kind of like Minnesota in Rocket League, where they shoot one time, then I'll run back, and then shoot one time, and I'll run back. Or it's the Baylor team in Valorant, where they have such a fast offense where they literally don't plant the spike and they all go for eliminations. It's a team that plays faster than everybody else. They play differently, and that's something that the Syracuse squad is struggling with right now as we head on to Kings Row. We'll see what they can really do, because it's going to be an interesting one at this point with how much pace they had. They'll start off on this defensive side for the Orange, and we'll see what they have, because they need to find a way to stop this Ohio State squad from just getting to be wherever they want. They're getting all the space in the world.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Syracuse, Carson. This is their map. I mean, back when I was coaching them last year to last semester, this is Syracuse's arguably best map. They just know how to play Kings Row. They know how to play the defense. Syracuse going in for the Ramatra ban, forcing King Donut to either play an Orisa or a Sigma on this map, or really, honestly, anything that isn't Ramatra. Ohio State looking to ban the Vendetta. And I think this is interesting, right? Ohio State, they played this Vendetta into the Syracuse squad. They did a really good job, but now they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it, and that's because as we get into this matchup here, the composition they're on, they're playing in this Sigma. They're playing a little bit more of this poke brawl. Vendetta thrives into poke, and this is great for them. Now they can play for this sort of push of aggression, as well as this poke damage from the Bastion, the Alari, and the Sojourn as Yum finds one immediately, and this is great for Ohio State.
Syracuse's ban was Ram, because King Donut plays primarily Ram and also plays a lot of Sigma, and you're seeing that right now. Syracuse goes down into a team kill instantaneously. Excellent start for Ohio State, who has taken a liking to this new meta. They are on fire. King Donut, starting with that Sigma, has been doing excellent. Primary damage there onto Lunar, who's on that Zarya, who is flat out probably the best tank right now. But it really depends on the team you're playing around, and Syracuse just not able to just really kind of keep themselves in check and support each other on that healing end. Mac already having to back off, just not enough healing coming up for how much damage Ohio State truly is doing. King Donut gets rid of Lunar once again, and that is a tank without an elimination. We talk about how good Lunar is, and taking them out of the equation so often with their healer Saint is really difficult. B-Dog gets one kill before going down to that Bastion pick, who was kind of a dark horse when people were starting to talk about this meta, but has really kind of shown out as a prevalent option for the first time since I think 2017.
Yeah, Mac just, still gets poked out by Yum. I'm going to be honest with you, Carson. I think Azer needs to maybe switch off the Genji here. We've seen how powerful he is on this Genji, but this backline, it's going to be hard for him to really do anything other than maybe force out a couple abilities. And if you can force out the Lamp from the Baptiste, force out the Boop from the Alari, then that could be sort of what you engage on. But once again, you're playing a rush composition. You need to look for any level of value, and you just need to crash out on it. And that's what Syracuse is still struggling to do. King Donut, as well as Mafia and Rhett, having their ultimates online. Azer, no HP in this fight, though.
Yeah, Azer has to get up there and get rid of them. Mac luckily picks some slack up, and Syracuse gets a Kitsune rush out, countered immediately by two ults. King Donut gets rid of E-Dog, and Mafia's Bastion ult, as well as King Donut's Graviton Surge, just going to get rid of basically the Orange. They used the ults when they could, and Ohio State had kind of that perfect recipe to get rid of them. Artillery from one, and a Surge from another to keep them out of the fight and out of the Kitsune rush range. A bad start. Azer going to move into May.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse, they're looking to mirror this Sigma as well, but the May gives them this brawl, right? Gives them a little bit more of that ability to sit and sort of tank it a little bit better than this Ohio State squad. So I'm not opposed to it, but they need to be careful because Azer needs to get really close to get this value on this May. 5 minutes for Ohio State. Syracuse's best defense is on second point, so this is where things are sort of untested waters for this team.
Syracuse doesn't get much value out of that overclock from Mac other than a few feet back on top. They are contesting now for the first time for a significant portion of time. 5 minutes remain for this Ohio State squad. Syracuse really struggles, but this May pick can kind of let the backline breathe a little bit, have more damage to come out, but immediately we talk about how much damage this Ohio State squad likes to build their comps around, how much damage they do so quickly, and it happened again to Azer there. Immunity shield goes up, nobody really looking at it, so nobody's really going to go down on this other side, and again it saves them a few times as Syracuse at this point is really struggling in the defensive end to stop them at all. Surge out for Lunar, he's going to use it, catches one at least, not going to go down as they are cornered. No support there. Everybody else down, trying to get back in time, and Lunar living there is absolutely absurd. And with a rush, Lunar still in this fight, pushing back forward. Syracuse gets a few more meters with a rush as B-Dog stands in that other corner doing a very good job from the back lines, or I guess from the back line of the front line. As Lau gets two, Mac and Azer go down. This DPS line has been completely immobilized and entirely out of the game so far. Back in this other end, Immunity Shield goes down to keep Bastion alive. Spectacular play from Rhett. That Baptiste has done an excellent job with the timing and has just been phenomenal. Syracuse kind of letting an uncontested push now as they have to wait to go.
Yeah, B-Dog switching over this Juno, just trying to contest. Azer dies with the Blizzard there. They're just straggling on to point here, and they're going to fall apart. And Ohio State's going to cap this with over 3.5 minutes, Carson. Ohio State, this team, this is just a different Ohio State squad. I mean, simply put, from what we saw last semester. I mean, last semester we saw this Ohio State-Syracuse matchup, and there was a lot of talk about, oh, well, it was patch day, it was a new meta, they were still figuring it out. Today's not patch day. This is Ohio State playing the game that they know how to play, playing their compositions, and there's a lot of discussion, you know, in the scrim world and in the pro world of what do you do against a team that doesn't play meta? This is case study perfection, right? Ohio State does not play meta. They play some meta characters, but then they play Baptiste Solari. Yeah. Right? That backline composition is a little weak in terms of its healing, but the damage output is just incredible. When you pair that with Mafia on the Bastion, and then you have the Sojourn as well from Yum, the Sigma keeping that walking pressure forward as well, that is just pure power coming out from their team, and that's what they did. They basically never stopped. King Donut just kept pressing W, giving that shield to the rest of his team so that they could just shoot random bullets and eventually get some kills, keeping in so much pressure. Syracuse, they switched over to that May a little bit later, great for sort of sustaining into that brawl, but they had to close the space, which is what we were seeing on this rush as well, closing that space, getting that value, and we haven't quite seen that. Azer switching to the Hanzo, probably not sticking here, I wouldn't guess, but it's possible, right? Look for these early one-shots on the back line, and this would get you good pressure. Goes to Genji, though.
The big thing right now, I think, for Syracuse is they're not putting out enough damage to get rid of that backline, because they do not have the sustain right now with that backline. You have to find a way to play into this, and I don't think they are right now. This comp doesn't do a lot of good for you, and specifically because they can just walk into you at any chance that they want to, and you're seeing it happen. King Donut gets two, Mac able to get a consolation prize, but Syracuse pushes over in 10 seconds, essentially. And what's happening here is Ohio State does not need the sustain that Syracuse has. And Syracuse doesn't have enough sustain because of how much damage that Ohio State is putting out. And so it doesn't matter for Ohio State because they keep shooting forward. They're going to get all the kills they need to right now. And you're seeing that essentially very well. One comes down, it's going to be Azer really struggling right now to try and find a lot of eliminations just because of how Ohio State is playing as a bunch. There's no real need to turn around. They're typically having to get right in their face, back forward. B-Dog pushing forward with the likes of Azer, who's low health, and Tank has no sustain, and they go down immediately. It's just, it's kind of an unfortunate textbook rule that's happening right now. There is no way for Syracuse to sustain their tank right now. It can't sustain itself, and they don't have enough damage or healing output to sustain it.
I mean, Ohio State, this is what they're doing here, Carson. I mean, this is Mafia walks in with turret form, and Lau throws in a lamp, King Donut throws in a shield, Rhett throws in a speed. They are just playing pocket the president of Bastion. And I mean, they even gave a tick to Syracuse, backing up, waiting for Mafia to get that turret form back. And that's what we've seen. They're just playing protect the Mafia, and a two-piece off the window.
I have no words for what I just saw other than what you've seen with your own eyes. Mafia essentially gets a team kill there. Why? The exact thing you just said.
Yeah.
Mafia is unstoppable right now in every sense of the word. I have no way to describe this other than Syracuse is not playing a comp that can deal with this in any way, shape, or form. They've switched into something that might, though. A lot of damage still outputting here, but now Lunar on that on that Sigma, together with a Ana, might be able to put enough healing out, and we'll see if it can. Immediately, Syracuse, good forward. They don't use any ults immediately. Azer and Lunar get two. The invincibility shield goes down, as Saint gets rid of Yum back in that other end, still fighting, as Syracuse is fighting against basically what is a delay, and immediately, what you're seeing, Syracuse has enough sustain to live through a full Bastion turret phase, and they just get to walk forward. It's the big thing they were missing. That dive was not working because there was no way to get rid of the Bastion. When every single player is literally playing in 5 meters within each other, dive won't work, and Syracuse was really trying to get them out of that just kind of place where they all had to play together and they all were playing together, but Ohio State would rather die than move out of that.
Yeah, and now they've switched. I mean, they see the Onyx come out, they see the Sigma come out, and now they're on Tracer, and now they're on Kiriko, and now they're going to have a lot of value into this dive. B-Dog is going to be in a very precarious position, but the Sleep forces the recall. Beautiful, but Mafia is still going to get out alive.
Immediately starts there as Mafia back off of that Bastion. How much damage can they get? Yum gets one with Bob, two with Bob. It's Lunar and Saint. DPS support, really, if you look at Saint, but they go down that other end as both Azer, Saint, and they all go down like dominoes. B-Dog able to get one in the process, but from the grave doesn't do much.
Yeah, and like you said, Azer and Saint both using their ultimates there, and so one Bob shuts it down, and you don't see much Ashe being played very frequently much, but when Ashe is in the game, there's a lot of things to keep in mind. One, you have this Dynamite, which gets that Bob charge really high and up and going. And then also, you get 6 players when Bob is on the field. Azer, though, a nice kill on a Yum, and Syracuse needs to take this with everything they've got.
The big idea is to do your job, and Azer's really trying to find their way back into this one, shaking off some rust. Going to be essential for the captain to find a way back into this one. Anti-Donut, here comes that once more up top. Not sure if it got the Sigma. Mac gets down one. Is that Sigma stuck in the corner? Nobody there to support. Lunar chases after, and exactly what the Orange were looking for. They needed a brawl comp to get around this one. Ohio State has adapted, but have they adapted enough? We'll see. 2 minutes remain for the Orange as they approach the final checkpoint before the final end here on this King's Row map that they have had a reputation of being cardiac with.
Yeah, and I like this from Syracuse, right? This is what I was talking about. I want to see more tempo control. I want to see more no room to breathe from this Syracuse squad. We saw that. They kept getting those kills fast, using those ultimates. The anti on the King Donut here. Lau forced to use that rush into the Nano from B-Dog on the Lunar to keep him alive.
Let's see what they can do. Saint gets one in the form of Mafia. Ults coming out basically everywhere with that Nano, Lau's Kitsune rush kind of dissipates at the end there. Here comes the Surge, though. King Donut unable to get too much value with it. Syracuse pushes into it, does an excellent job, and forces them to back off. Lunar gets rid of Lau. Mac gets rid of King Donut. Orange are moving forward. They touch the checkpoint. No, they don't. One's still on. They touch the checkpoint.
Yeah, and that's really good for Syracuse. But Carson, that was really good from them, but I do want to mention you are 1 minute less than Ohio State right now. That is something to keep in mind, and Syracuse needs to cap with any time for them to not go into a, have to draw or lose situation here. So Syracuse in a weird spot. Mafia on Echo. King Donut switching over to the Zarya now. Saint goes down early. This Echo Ashe, something we have not seen for years in Overwatch here, but the amount of pressure, same thing with the sticky bombs as the Dynamite that you get, as well as that bubble onto Mafia is going to be very dangerous.
Lau gets rid of B-Dog. No support for the Orange if Saint can't come back in time. Saint is back, though, there, but it's just going to be kind of a rolling over immediately. Syracuse having to back off into their own spawn. King Donut getting rid of Mac. It's going to keep the Syracuse squad waiting. A very good switch into Echo, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know how to describe it other than it is a counter to what's going on, but how much of it will be a counter, we're going to have to find out. Echo can go away very quickly if the Syracuse squad focuses it right, They move forward. Lunar puts up a shield, kind of waiting at this corner. At a crucial point here, Bob's going to come out and immediately get rocked, so it's going to get stuck behind that shield. Syracuse has the ability to back up, and they will. Some more shield for Lunar. They're going to have to back off, and more time bought, luckily for Ohio State, doing a fantastic job delaying the Syracuse squad. But again, it's just difficulty everywhere, getting forward, getting space. Azer has that blade, and we'll see how they use it as B-Dog kind of crawling back up with this Kitsune rush off of the Ana that was working earlier, and a great switch by Echo. The ult comes out, and they mirror the Sigma. It's three Sigmas on the field right now, essentially. King Donut, switch to Zarya. Yum and Mafia get two. Azer and Sane are the ones that go down. Mafia with their ult gets basically the rest of them. B-Dog and Lunar, not enough health to go on. King Donut and Yum collect as Matt goes down on the ultimate. 50 seconds remain. Game not over mathematically for the Orange, but it is a rough road back up.
Yeah, I mean, this is the strength of this Zarya Echo Ashe is you just bubble the Echo. They can't shoot at the Echo, right? And then the Zarya at perma 100 charge. Lunar onto the Zarya now. B-Dog onto the Kiriko. Azer onto the Symmetra. They're looking to play into this counter beam brawl. Rush into rush here. It's going to be a messy fight, but it's going to be final fight here, Carson, outside of stall picks as Yum finds Mac really early.
Saint can't do much there other than just wait for the rest of the team. Mirror Kitsune rushes. They're both walking into it. Lunar has full charge. Now both tanks back onto Zarya. I'm not sure how this has gotten counterpicked into it, but it's the worst choice for both teams right now. Rhett and King Donut get rid of Lunar and Azer. King Donut simply outplaying with how good that DPS has been. Azer and Mac have really, you talk about how good they are and how good they've been. Right now, when they're really relied on, they've really been struggling down the stretch, and it's a tough thing. I mean, you suddenly switch up your meta, you have to play an entirely different way for two DPSs that have been excelling in a system that is not how they've been playing for over 3 years at this point. This Ohio State squad remembers 2021 Overwatch, and they are playing it very well. See, that's actually 5 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is 5 years ago now where this comp was really prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, Ashe Echo has been something we have not seen in quite a while, and I mean, it's working. And this Ohio State squad, there's a few things to keep in mind when it comes to this Ohio State squad, and one of them, and I find this unique, because back when I was coaching Syracuse a year ago, this is what I always told them to be aware of, is if you need to switch, but be careful, right? Because obviously every time you switch, though you get to keep up to 25% of your ult charge, it's worrisome because if you switch, what if you're already snowballing and you make that switch and now you don't have an ultimate to use? Ohio State don't care, I've realized. Okay, and what I mean by this is when they've made so many switches in that Kings Row match. I mean, their composition probably, if I had to count, around 7 total swaps from that team, and every single time it was adapting to the Syracuse playstyle, adapting to the Syracuse composition, and they didn't care. I think there were 2 times, one when the Lucio switched, and then when the switch came over to the Echo on Mafia. I believe they were like 80 or 90% to ult, and they still switched. They didn't care, and that's the worry that I would always tell Syracuse a year ago is if you have that ult, you want to use it. Ohio State didn't care. They were like, we would rather play basically the counter to their comp and make them uncomfortable. There was only one time Syracuse looked comfortable, and that was at the end of that second point, right? They got back into that fight. They controlled the tempo. They put in so much pressure. They went in for the kills. They didn't give King Donut or any of Ohio State any chance to breathe, any breathing room, and they got the point. But then on third point, it was just swap galore from Ohio State every single time. I mean, they started on this Bastion, Carson.
Yeah, and if you're going to look at a comparison of it into regular sports, because I know a lot of our viewers are family members of these players who are looking at it and not understanding maybe as much as they want to, it's you're having a left-handed pinch hitter against a right-handed batter. Yeah. Ohio State's using it in the second inning because they understand that they want to play ahead. They want to find a way to play ahead of the curve. They care very little about ultimates because they understand the value they're going to get out of their own ultimates in their mind is lower than the value they're going to get out of the character, which in essence for a lot of heroes is true. There are certain heroes where their ults do not impact the game 55% of the time or more. And if you are going to go there and offer your game up on a coin flip, that's not what Ohio State wants to do. They're playing Moneyball right now. They're finding a way to put the right guys in the right position, and they are doing a spectacular job of playing against what is standard. They're not playing against these big hitters. They're not playing these vendettas because they're going into this one expecting to win. And by winning, to them, it's whatever they're not doing, we are going to do. They look at the other team's comp, they go, how can we beat that?
Yeah.
4 changes for King Donut during this game between heroes. Sigma Zarya, Sigma Zarya. Whenever it was beneficial to them, they just switched it back. They just, hey, this is not working anymore. We lost half a team fight, still won the team fight. Go die and go switch. That's what they told them. There was 2 times that Ohio State players with an ult, not fully charged, with an ult switched. And you have to understand it at this point is they are playing an entirely different way that no other team in collegiate plays like. And there is a reason this Ohio State squad had a lot of eyes on it when they played against Minnesota. They came out slow. And I think it was because they didn't even know what they were doing initially. But once they get kind of locked eyes on your team, if they guess right, if they figure it out right, if they scout you well, and boy, do they scout the Syracuse squad well, they're going to be up 2-0. But we're talking a little bit about just one player, I think, that's going to be very essential in kind of keeping the Syracuse roster alive. It's going to fall on the shoulders of the captain. We talked about how it is a star meta, and Ohio State can't avoid that.
Yeah.
Genji now free, Vendetta now free. Harris has to come up big. The captain from Huntington, New York, an information management senior. Azer is an excellent player. He's very intelligent, and he is at his best. He was at his best when he was younger with the team on his shoulders, essentially. When he needed to come up big, he would, but in these moments, he has to find a way to do it again in a meta that has changed for the first time in a very long time where it's not exactly team-oriented anymore. You're supporting one player. You're supporting 2 players. You essentially have 3 support players, and now you're trying to figure out how do we play support as a DPS, and it's defending. It's a very interesting idea, and all of your offense is coming out of 2 players. It's going to be Lunar and Azer, and it's going to be Vendetta and whatever Azer chooses to pair that with. Right now, I don't think anybody in the entire community knows what the best pair to Vendetta is right now.
Yeah, and Carson, I think one of the big, okay, let's take a second, all right? Let's stop thinking about the game. Let's think about these 2 teams and the history that they've had, right? From last year PEC, from the first semester of PEC, right? Losing to Ohio State, it was a brutal loss. I mean, those players felt terrible after that loss. Second semester, they come in, they get the win, and then they go into the PEC finals, right? Where they have to beat Ohio State not once, but twice so that they can make their way forward into the next level, right? Into that semis, right? And so they could play not Ohio State, play Boise State. And it was perfect. I mean, that these 2 teams have played each other so often, and it became they had a great love for each other too, right? And then they became scrim partners over the summer. They come into this semester, they lose to them. It was heartbreaking. They were like, we need to get this win. We're going to come back next semester and take it. And now we're here. You're down 2-0, and I think a lot of it comes down to sometimes there is a little bit of mental aspect to it, right? You come into this match, you expect, you're like, it was patch day, it may have been a fluke, right? Well, now you know it's not, right? This team, this Ohio State squad has practiced so hard, and they know that Syracuse is that team to beat. They know that Syracuse, frankly, if anyone, Syracuse is the contender for first place this year, and Ohio State knows that. Right, and they've been working towards it. They've been getting better towards it, and they also know that players like Azer thrive in the neutral fight. They thrive before things even happen, and that's been one of the strengths that Ohio State has been doing. They've been winning, putting so much pressure when the fight hasn't even started that when they finally do take the fight, Syracuse has nothing to do.
There's no foot off the gas right now for the Buckeyes, and that's kind of their big success key right now. They are doing a fantastic job of sitting there and winning the fight. They are not letting it They're not letting it come to them. They're not sitting there, they're doing anything but. They're going directly at Syracuse. They're meeting them in choke points. They're not waiting at distance. They're not trying to get any damage beforehand. They are starting the team fight far before Syracuse is comfortable. They are starting things far before there is a comfortable spot for the Orange to be. They have no real way to counter it right now because the Orange have not played into it well, and maybe it is a mental aspect. Maybe you thought this game was going to be a rollover because of that last time. And how do you put your mental back together when you know very well that there are players on this team that you're playing, like King Donut, who have a disgusting obsession with the game in a way that many envy. He's absolutely all in all the time. A player who wants to learn those things, a player who wants to get into the analytics of how they play. And how do you beat somebody with that level of obsession? It's obsession yourself. Syracuse has to get really deep into their bag here and find something that they've been working on at this point to find a way through, because what's worked before will not work against Ohio State. The Buckeyes have made that clear. Obviously, it's the regular season. Obviously, you're going to be a top team in this tournament because even with what has been working, you've still been doing a fantastic job throughout the season. But how do you find a way to win against all odds, down 2-0 to a squad that's beaten you already and who is sure to be on top of this conference and viewed as the top dog if you lose? It comes from an underdog mentality for a team of Syracuse who has been that for their entire collegiate career up until this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of the first time Syracuse since last year has been sort of in a spot of we aren't the very best anymore, right? We have to really try for it. I mean, they came into this semester, they got top 20 in the nation in collegiate rankings. They knew they were a good team. And this Ohio State team comes around, they're like, Let's put a break on it. And now they come back again. They do it once more. And the Syracuse squad needs to go back to their roots, right? That's what it comes down to. You have 5 incredibly talented players on this roster, right? Every single one of them has previous competitive experience outside of the collegiate scene in a very high level, right? Not to get too technical, but in terms of face-it level, right? There are different levels. It goes Masters, Expert, Advanced, and then Open. And they're scrimming all the way at the top in that Expert, Masters level where those Tier 1, Tier 2 teams play. So is Ohio State, though, right? That is the scary part. These teams play at such a high level, and sometimes you just have to go back to your roots, go back to what you're good at, go back to what you trust. Syracuse going in with the Kiriko ban, Ohio State banning the Zarya. That doesn't, shock me. Ohio State's not too comfortable on that Zarya. They'll play it, obviously, but they clearly don't opt in to play it first. Going in on the Kiriko ban from Syracuse, I would not be surprised if we see an Ana Lucio Winston composition here, Carson. It's something that Syracuse played for so long last semester, so long last year. They're comfortable. It's players like Saint and B-Dog on that backline that just get so much pressure and so much ability to live when they're on that composition. But this does give the ability to King Donut to play something like a Hazard or something a little bit more unique, but they'll probably see them walk out on Hazard again.
Absolutely, and we enter this game, Orange headed on to Esperanza, down 2-0. Can they find a way to crawl back into this one? The Buckeyes have them at the throat. But the Orange will look towards the Ohio Valley chestnut trees and try and find their way back to the top of them once more. And oh my God, what am I looking at? What am I looking at on the right side of my screen?
Well, Carson.
It's the last meta. They reused it.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse going with the Ana Brig instead of the Ana Lucio. I think they were predicting the Hazard instead of the Junker Queen. But I'm just going to quickly say this. Once again, this composition thrives in not letting Syracuse take a breath.
Yeah, I don't know how much it's going to work, though. Junker Queen themselves has to take a breath to live. There's a tank with very low survivability, which is keeping her out of the meta right now, and that's exactly what you see. Typically, the tank does not go down first in most team fights. King Donut played that exactly right and just went down anyway. As they do a really good job, though, fighting back without a tank. Obviously, in this kind of version of Overwatch 2, without 6 players, it's almost entirely dependent on you have a tank, you get to play the game. And right now, Syracuse has found a way to keep that kind of at a minimum. They're doing a very good job of playing well without that tank, or playing well when they don't have their tank, but Ohio State's still stalling. Orange moving forward, have it at 15 meters to start this one off.
Yeah, that's the strength with this sort of composition is you have players who have the ability to, sort of stall and win even without King Donut on this Junker Queen. But this Juno and Brig gives you so much brawl pressure. The Brig is so oppressive, but the anti-nade.
The big problem is that you need healing.
Yeah,
it's just not a match made in anywhere really. It's a bit of a blind date, and the other person didn't show up. There's not enough healing in the world for Junker Queen to stay around. But we talked about how good this Ohio State squad can be without the other team or without their tank there basically, and they're doing it right now. Had a tank, no tank, and just beat the Orange right there. Fantastic job by Lau in that other end. I mean, Junker Queen does not work in this comp, but they are making it work with that Junker Queen.
They're kind of just baiting King Donut on Junker Queen, and then they let Lau and Rhett sort of run it down in the backline because B-Dog and Saint on a Brig are not going to beat the Juno Brig in a brawl 2v2. It is just that simple. So Ohio State throws in King Donuts, sort of gets a lot of the util out from Syracuse, and goes to the fight.
I'd like to see Azure switch into more of a brawl character here. Tracer just isn't going to do what you want it to. And I mean, King Donut is just
just in there.
It's just in there. So much damage immediately. Great job by the supports to keep King Donut around. Oh my gosh, what a fantastic job there. I mean, Rhett and Lau in the back line, I mean, that's all support. Syracuse could not do enough damage if they had tried. And King Donut gets rid of Saint, the last one there. A very good job. And Ohio State has the lead again, 40 meters to 31. They are just absolutely dominating.
Yeah, Azer goes on to this Genji here. I do want to mention sort of the scary part about this Ohio State squad. They get checkpoint, by the way. This comp now is going to thrive. This is what you didn't want to let Ohio State do, is they now just get to walk on you at any given point in time, and they have checkpoint control. Lau going to be able to help secure these kills from Yum, already one member up. Here comes the Nano.
Very good start. Syracuse needed an ult, and they used it. It's going to break the tension. Mold going down as Saint and Lunar get Rhett and Yum. And the big thing about the Syracuse comp, they play extremely well close together. Ohio State does the actual opposite. They play well very far apart, and Azer and Saint do an excellent job there cleaning up at the end. It's a team kill for the first time tonight for the Orange. 65 meters for Ohio State. Syracuse just under half of that. I mean, that's a very good job by Syracuse, and they still have ults where they need them. The big thing right now is you can't let Ohio State get the space that they need to really do a great job. Yum doing an excellent job on this support, or on this DPS, has had fantastic aim all night and is a nightmare to play against right now as Azer has to back out. And again, a primal from Lunar right off rip here.
I mean, this Primal is going to be on Yum here in this overclock. Not going to give them any value, but Lau, once again, just getting so many kills. King Donut as well. Lunar's going to fall. I mean, Ohio State is just walking through this. And, I mean, we didn't mention it, but the cart was moving, and it was about midway. Ohio State flipped the map and went onto Syracuse's bridge and let them get the cart progress. That is macro understanding to a professional level. They did not care, and they still won the fight.
Ohio State is blending into a team right now that is looking unbeatable when they are playing well, and right now they're playing extremely well. Lunar went entirely to solo a DPS, and I mean, they're just getting let into a room, and I mean, there's not much they can really do. They're getting essentially baited. Mac gets 2, though. This fight isn't over. Somehow, by the grace of Mac's M1 and M2, Yum and King Donut get 2 down. Mac having to heal by themselves, and a one-on-one for the point. Unfortunately, no winner there for the Syracuse side. It's going to be just Yum who is able to get alone back on that side. Rarely you see a one-on-one at 33 health. Played some Counter-Strike there, and unfortunately Syracuse not as good of Counter-Strike players in Overwatch as Ohio State are.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for Syracuse, right, Saint has this rally online. Azer coming up with the Blade as well, so Syracuse has some ults here, but you're at a checkpoint and a 65-meter disadvantage as the support line trying to stay alive, as once again, this is Ohio State just flipping the map. They have control, trades on either side, Carson.
Yeah, the big thing right now, Lunar, you want a tank right now that can play around your team and keep them alive, and right now Lunar's really struggling to keep their team alive. That's a good start right there. Rhett goes down. Huge loss of support. Lunar gets another one. Playing around the team, doing a fantastic job, but King Donut is always where Lunar is not, and 2 go down. It's a collection up top of 2 supports, or 1 support, excuse me, 1 DPS, and a tank, and it just gets rid of Syracuse's backline. B-Dog and Mac go down. Lunar goes down to a spectacular pulse bomb by Mafia. Just not much they could do back on that other end. Azer left to fight alone. The captain really needing to step up at this point. Doesn't have much of anything they can rely on at this stage.
I want to see Syracuse group up here and take a fight responsibly. And I mean, the Ray is in, so is the Nano and the Blade, but they're not going to get the connect on the Lau.
Nano Blade misses just about everything, and 2 Syracuse members went down right as the fight started due to 2 ults coming out from Ohio State immediately from Lau and Mafia, who already has it back. And again, Syracuse just pushed back to the brink. Nano Blade can't get anybody because there's nobody there to support. Team is entirely in a different section, in the Syracuse squad seemingly just sluggish at this point, unable to do much against this Ohio State squad. They are just unfortunately going down in every way. Here comes a Primal, though. Lucas has to basically jump over that Sojourn, get him in the back line, and just unfortunately too much space and distance from the team as they half go down. 1 more for Lunar, 1 on accident. Lau goes down unintentionally as they try and get it. I don't even know how Lunar didn't contest there. I'm not sure how Lunar wasn't on there. Is that it?
0.6 meters, the Sojourn slid and was able to secure it. I mean, Carson.
You think about the play that you lose 0.6 meters on, but you have to understand where the entire 119.4 came from. And a lot of that Junker Queen, we talked about how fast they swapped earlier. And when they needed to swap, what they did is they took a deep breath, they looked at themselves and went, hey, this is actually the comp that we want. I'm seeing shades of what we want. Let's play into this a little longer and see what happens. I have not seen a smarter team in a while at the collegiate level than Ohio State.
Yeah.
I selected them earlier in the season to be a championship team with Boise State at the beginning of the year for a reason. I thought that this team had a lot of passion. I thought that they had a lot of room to grow. And evidently, they've grown a lot since last year, placing fourth totally in the PEC last season with just about the same roster. They've reformed themselves over the summer. In the fall, I mean, this Ohio State squad is absurd. This is a team that I have not seen at the collegiate level be this smart, except when they're full of pro players. These are all collegiate players. This is not something you see often, where a team of collegiate players have bought so far into their strategy that they are playing against the meta and absolutely rocking teams who have talent at that high level of what you mentioned with that face at high levels. Players at that tier who have those kind of hours, who have those kind of time. You don't see it often in these kind of teams. This is a special organization with a special Overwatch team that is one to watch as we come down to the wire in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, Carson, if you asked me a semester ago when we watched this game if I thought Ohio State was going to win the championship, I'll be honest, I'll say no. I mean, I thought Syracuse, they were going to be the team to beat, and I admit, as someone who has seen them play on patch day, I was like, I think it may have been a fluke. I mean, Syracuse is a very strong team, and then we saw them the rest of the season. We saw them against Boise State. We saw them against Utah completely annihilate through the competition. You're like, this team is going to be the contender, right? And then you come into this semester, and you still have that very high expectation, and then Ohio State sort of just comes out of nowhere, and the improvement in a matter of 2.5 months from where we saw them the first time around to where we see them now. Like you said, I mean, I've been in the collegiate scene for a while, the collegiate Overwatch scene for a while. It has been a long time since I've seen a team not even play smart. That's not even what I'm going to say, but play off meta smart. We saw Ohio State, yes, they have some meta compositions. Yes, they have some capability to play like that Lucio Curie, right? But then we see them play Baptiste Solari. Then we see them play Juno Break, right? We see them play Ash Echo. Things that have been based in Overwatch for such a long time, and then they bring it out now, and they're like, we're comfortable on it. We're going to play it. But not only are we going to play it correctly, but we're going to play it with our own pizzazz, right? And that's what we did. I mean, watching Ohio State play that, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to throw a big callback here. There was a time when BSC was one of the best collegiate teams in Overwatch. I mean, up there with the Boise States and the Maryvilles, and I feel like I just watched BSC in prime. That is how off-meta and perfect Ohio State just played this series.
You have to look at it like this. This is a team that is playing the game that they want to play, how they want to play it. They are a smart enough team to play off meta. They are a good enough team technically to play off meta, and they are a good enough team to win the PEC championship.
Absolutely.
That is all that I got out of that one. There is plenty more to determine in terms of just how smart these players are, but you saw it today. That is a team that will not go down easy. You will have to outsmart them in a way that I don't think you've outsmarted them before, but you don't see teams like this often, and I would keep a close eye on this Ohio State squad as they head down to the wire. It's something to watch for once we hit that sweet second week of April and the Sin City, but we'll have to see who you'll have to put your cards on, who you'll have to put your chips down with in just a few weeks. Plenty of updating, plenty of exciting opportunities this season to watch PEC teams play, one of which tomorrow night, Syracuse Valorant will take on the Ohio State squad who beat them earlier this season. So we'll have to see. It's a tough matchup. Hamburger, the perennial looking like MVP right now, is going to come play against Syracuse. It should be a fun one to watch, and if not a close one, hopefully. We'll see how it goes down in the wire. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Carson Cass and Ryan Blankenhorn, and that is all from us.